Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Report, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Now, let's take a look at some of the stocks on the move today here in Europe. I'm Caroline Hepker with Stephen Cowell, and we're joined by Bloomberg reporter Chloe Mallet. Let's start with looking at Amundi. Shares up after it reported a profit beat and presented a share buyback. Tell us all the details.
Yeah, so Amundi actually really benefited from Donald Trump burning all the bridges that he has with Europe. So the company said that it had really benefited from investors essentially wanting to move away from US assets and from the dollar as well, and that is because, of course, they're driven in part because of the rising tensions between Trump and European allies, with the threats over Greenland, the threats over tariffs as well, and that has led investors kind of want to move away from some of those US assets. And Amundi is known for its kind of geographic and also a product diversification, which means that it was able to capitalize quite well on investors kind of wanting a broader range of investments in a wider set of geographies. And the CEO said, for example, that investors were really keen on European assets, but also emerging markets like India as well. And so all of that means that there was more money coming to Europe. And that's obviously good news for the largest asset manager in the region. And so we have profit ahead of expectations and a big buyback, which obviously is always something that investors are quite excited about.
Okay, so that's Amundi shares, which are currently up nearly 5%, actually. Turning next to one of the biggest fallers, Publicis, the French advertising giant, down 6.7% at the moment.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because on the surface, it looks actually pretty good for Publicis. You know, the revenue growth in the fourth quarter was stronger than expected. The guidance for 2026 was also slightly ahead of expectations. And the company said that AI products will continue to really drive growth for the company this year. It said that it had also a budget of 900 million euros to buy companies within that AI space so that it can broaden that AI portfolio. So Publicis is really trying to push back against a narrative that advertising companies will actually be losers in this kind of AI trade because AI could disrupt the advertising sector by allowing businesses to make ads themselves faster and cheaper as well. But it seems that perhaps the outlook itself was the thing that disappointed investors. Publicis is known for being quite conservative with its guidance at the beginning of the year and leaving room for upgrades. And so maybe the outlook is what is leading those shares lower this morning. And perhaps investors, maybe some of them aren't quite convinced by the fact that a Publicis could actually be an AI winner in this way and be able to stand out amongst all of these other advertising companies.
Yeah, the kind of company talking about transformational growth. Akzo Nobel shares down after it warned of a tough year ahead. What are the concerns for investors?
Yeah, there seems that there's no sign of recovery at Akzo Nobel. So this is part of this broader trend of the chemical sector being struggling quite a bit. Because of end markets being quite weak. So for Akzo Nobel, which is a paint maker, its coatings business sells chemical products to customers in industries like car making, like industrials, the marine industry as well. And so all of those are struggling to an extent, and therefore customers are pulling back. They're not wanting as much paint, and therefore it is really struggling. And Akzo Nobel has been having a tough time for a little while now. This was something that we talked about last year as well, and it's been trying to counter that by cutting loads of jobs and closing down some sites as well. It said that it has cut around 2,900 workers by the end of last year, and that is 900 positions more than it had initially planned. So it's really trying to boost that efficiency. And then going forward, it will actually be doing this alone in this difficult market because it is merging with Axalta, which is a smaller paint maker, and that deal is expected to close in early 2027 at the latest. But until then, it might see some of that difficulty continuing.
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.